peace of mind is knowing New Zealand Insurance will always be there, inside New Zealand.
Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to Inside New Zealand. I'm Neil Waka. Tonight, a unique opportunity to see what happens behind the scenes when we dial 111. Wellington provides the only free ambulance service in the Southern Hemisphere and sees a level and variety of work rarely encountered in other centres. Following the men and women of Brown Shift at Wellington Central, this documentary traces an average day where officers are called out every 8 minutes. It explores why they choose to do the work they do and dispels many myths about the job. With humour and sensitivity, the officers describe their feelings about ambulance work and how it impacts upon themselves and their families.
You're entering into a person's life for all but 5 minutes and you see things that you'd like to be able to change.
Can you open your eyes and look at me? This hurts.
Do well in an accident, you get the people to hospital in better condition than what they were, they can be very satisfying.
Because you've fallen quite a distance, we just want to make sure that there's no injury to your spine, all right?
430 crew code 1, 430. 431 crew code 1.
This is Wellington Free Ambulance. On average, they respond to a call every 8 minutes. If it's a code 1 emergency, ambulance officers have just 3 minutes to be out of bed and on the road.
435 code 1, 435.
Code 1 is an emergency response using light and siren to the call. It's at the discretion of the controller who takes the information and then decides what priority the classification should be. This person needs immediate ambulance aid, so they've coded the job as an emergency call.
Brown Shift is responsible for the area from Waikanae in the north to Cook Strait in the south. Tonight, the 13 staff and 9 ambulances are on call to 376,000 people. There's been a fight in a public bar. The caller doesn't know how serious the injuries are, but says there's a lot of blood and broken glass.
Going to the Cambridge Hotel here on Cambridge Terrace, just to an assault. Police have been sent, so for...
Claire Donovan's been an ambulance officer for 15 years. He's called to this hotel many times, and he's understandably cautious. An ambulance officer can be the target of violence fueled by alcohol. Hotel bars are now open until early morning. That means more customers for all emergency services.
What's your first name?
Lucky.
Lucky. Well, Lucky, you're unlucky this time because...
Yeah, lucky the first time is unlucky.
You've got a wee cut here which isn't going to stop bleeding for a wee while, so I'm going to have to run you down to the hospital to let them have a look at it.
Yeah,
Just a little need a stitch maybe, okay?
In the head. What did he hit you with? Oh, inside up. He come inside, but I'm very angry, but I stood up.
Lucky, can I just butt in here? I'd like to know what was used to cut your head too, because if it was a glass, there might be still some in there.
Somebody throw me the pint or something.
A pint?
Yeah.
They threw it, did they?
They threw me
threw it
in here.
Do you know who it was?
I don't know, but it's inside.
He's inside now, is he?
Who throw me the pint or something.
Is he inside now, is he?
Yeah, I think he's...
Is he still there?
Quite an unusual job to have on a Friday or Saturday night here, and depending on how busy it is upstairs, can really stress all staff in the services as well as here in the hospital.
Lucky was unlucky. His head wound didn't stop bleeding for 4 hours.
Well done.
Another 111 call. The desperate caller is having an asthma attack.
We are coming to an asthmatic who apparently has collapsed. That's all we know.
Paramedic Peter McPhail has been with Wellington Free for 14 years. He often arrives at an emergency knowing only the briefest of details.
Right.
An asthma attack can be frightening.
What did you go into?
Peter and partner Alan Wilson know the stresses involved might lead to a more serious and sudden attack. A mixture of oxygen and Ventolin should help Marilyn to breathe.
Try on the other arm.
Ellen tries to find a vein to cannulate. This means a hollow needle is inserted in case life-saving drugs are suddenly required. Normally, a stretcher would be used, but Marilyn insists on walking to the ambulance.
When you vomited, what was it you're vomiting up? Just what you ate? But food? Yeah. You were getting a bit short of breath. You went out onto the balcony. That was when you collapsed. They've given us some Ventolin, and she's responded very well to that. She's on prednisone. Blood pressure's fine. She sounds clear. I've had 2 goes at an IV, and I'm not even sure that one's patent, so might pay to check that. Fighting of a headache now, which is probably, it sort of seemed to get quite worse, a lot worse with the Ventolin, didn't it? It's actually given her this, so that's probably a headache.
That's got really...
She sounds clear.
Marilyn was assessed, her condition improved, and she went home 3 hours later.
435, can you go to outside the Star Boating Club, Jervois Quay, for an assault? Woman, query, KO'd.
On a full moon, it's a really busy night. We tend to have a huge variety of calls. They're not just psychiatric patients, but it just seems to be a really mad night. We do a huge range of jobs, to your normal sort of pub jobs, drunk jobs, and they just tend to be not quite normal jobs.
Knocked it on the ground, then walked away. He didn't go smack sort of thing, he just sideswiped it, you know?
Listen, what you're doing is breathing too much, all right, for now, all right? We need to... Yeah, I know it hurts, but you just need to slow your...
No, nothing else. No, okay.
If you've been knocked out, we really need to get you seen at hospital, all right? Do you remember being hit?
It hurts.
Reasonably intoxicated, which makes it pretty hard to tell really what's going on, whether she's got a developing head injury or the whole thing just relates to her alcohol. What we don't want is to leave her behind, so she needs to be in hospital because she's been knocked out. All right. She was hyperventilating when I first got there, and she's reasonably intoxicated, and she's got this pain inside her head.
Open your eye. Open your eye up.
An ambulance officer's job doesn't just end at the hospital door. Peter is worried that this patient may have hidden injuries. Even at 3 a.m, the paperwork still has to be done. Meanwhile, there's been a rapid recovery.
The young lady that we brought here that was assaulted, knocked unconscious, has now, as you can see, left us, gone on to greener pastures.
An elderly woman is choking and has collapsed. Her son has dialed the emergency number and is trying desperately to resuscitate her. Robert Johnson has been a frontline ambulance officer for 6 years. He knows that even though another ambulance has already arrived, when you've got a 70-year-old patient, things can change so quickly.
There we go, that's them calling in now. So we're going to a cardiac arrest now. Roger, not far away.
A heart attack. Her heart has stopped beating. Blood and oxygen have stopped circulating through her body. Robert knows there's only a few minutes to get it going again, or she will suffer permanent brain damage.
Do you want to defibrillate first?
Yep.
Right, just keep at it, David. It's 1, 2, 3. Keep going. 1, 2, 3. You go 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep going. 1, 2.
Trying to secure it, and just move it down a little bit.
Just stop silent. How much room do you want to start? 1 mil?
Do a small man now, even if it's a fire furnace.
We could do a small man throughout the scene.
Robert calls for backup, knowing that it's probably too late.
People are
that she'll live to regret.
You scream, you die.
Sit Indecency premieres Friday, 8:30 on the...
On the arrival of the first vehicle, it just confirmed it was a cardiac arrest. We attempted resuscitation on the lady for about 25 minutes, and unfortunately it was nothing that we could do, so she passed away. We generally try for as long as it's feasible. We have a set procedure that we stick to, that we try, and if that works, we can get going and transport. It's obviously better to try and stabilise the patient and resuscitate them at the house. We had no success with the lady.
After we've established that she has died, we will generally do one of two things. It depends on the nature of the case. If it is a case that's going to obviously involve the police, such as somebody that has been assaulted or injured, then it's immediate police involvement and they will take over. We will preserve the scene. The majority of the cases don't involve that. They involve a medical catastrophe that has caused somebody to die. Tonight, it actually worked very well because the doctor who knew the patient and knew the history was quite happy to do a medical certificate. And that becomes a routine. Obviously, he'll do that tomorrow morning in his office. He doesn't even need to see the patient. Because there is no suspicious circumstances, it's nice to just put things back where they were, bring people back to their normality. So we tidied her up, we took out everything, the tubes and the wires and all those unnatural things that we had put in, and put her back into bed where she would have been, where he found her first off. Because that's just a natural state.
I was remembering a cot death that I went to one day, and I arrived and the parents were trying to resuscitate their child. And I came in with some gear and I took over and called for help and carried on, and then it was evident that we weren't going to get anywhere. And we had to stop, and the parents just went berserk, and the husband started attacking me and beating me. But it was interesting because you don't feel that, you expect it anyway. It was all right.
I remember being at a young man in Hautautai who arrested, his heart stopped. We were working on him, we got his heart going again and it stopped again. And this kept on going and we kept reverting it. And in the background I could see his two daughters, probably very close to the same age of my own daughters, crying, and his wife there as well, and it's just stuck in my mind. And we tried really hard for this guy, and it didn't work. And we finished up taking him to hospital, but he still didn't survive. And that left a big impression on me.
Another 111 call. Again, the caller is vague and the details are sketchy.
We're heading up to Karori at the moment to a church hall where we've been notified that an elderly woman has collapsed. And we've got no more information really apart from that.
Lester Toms has been in the service for 18 years. He's used to driving fast in a difficult environment.
Wellington streets are pretty narrow and small, so there is always a problem trying to get around and for the public trying to find somewhere to get out of our way. So we just have to be as patient as we can with them.
You see the woman on the right there, Lester?
Yep, waving us down. Belle, can you hear me? Just nod if you can hear me. I need to lay you down, Belle. I need to get you on the floor and lay you down and you'll feel a lot better, all right? So how about we do that? Do it nice and slowly.
Bill Arnott is 91 years old and has a history of cardiac trouble. Lester and Blair need to identify what's wrong quickly and decide on a course of action.
Have you got any extra shortness of breath, Belle?
We're with the ambulance, all right? We're going to take you down to the hospital just to be checked over, OK?
431, transporting a 91-year-old female.
Lester, I'm just going to try and cannulate. Just let me know when a straight bit of road's come. Patient's condition has deteriorated somewhat, just necessitating me to put a line in to be prepared for any situation that might arise between now and us
reaching the hospital. You're going to be sick again, Belle? Nearly there, Belle. Not far to go now.
Just when we're ready.
On 3. 1, 2, 3.
We've just been contending with her vomiting on the way down. It wasn't enough to really go giving anything for, and I wasn't still not 100% sure what we're dealing with, but
yeah,
it would be heart-related.
The main thing is she's been nauseated and vomiting.
Yeah, well, that's been dropping down to periods of 30, in the 30s.
Okay.
We'll
just have to get these clothes off. Yeah.
Alrighty. So it's really our job to deliver a patient still from A to B, B being the hospital. And I'm happy to see her get here because, as you saw, she wasn't very well. She was vomiting. She does have a heart arrhythmia. And whilst we can cater for that, it's still, as I've already said, it's not an ideal environment. So it's always nice to see them get here.
Her condition was deteriorating to such a degree that after a period of time it would not become life-sustaining. Person doesn't have to be in full cardiac arrest, in other words, no breathing and no heartbeat, to be in trouble. An insufficient heartbeat and insufficient breathing is enough to cause problems with the body.
After a 2-week stay in hospital, Belle Arnott made a full recovery. The control room. It's the nerve centre of Wellington Free Ambulance. The controller takes 111 calls here and allocates the degree of urgency. Code 1 is the most urgent, Code 4 is a routine transport job. Ex-nurse Leonie Anderson has spent 4 years in control. One of the most frustrating things for her is having to deal with prank calls.
Usually it's children or something like that, and often you can tell by background noise whether it's, you know, something is happening. If it's a child, you can ask to speak to the parent or whatever.
But if it's somebody who's I've picked up as a crank call and kept them on the line, I'm probably their worst nightmare because I take their number and I'll ring them back every 10 minutes till I actually get hold of an adult and I speak to the adult, and generally it never happens again.
435, Code 4. 4.
The controller has a difficult job. She has to make sure there's an ambulance available in all areas all the time.
When it's really busy, it's trying to remember all your resources that are out there and keep a finger on what vehicles in what area, where they're heading to, and also just remembering the vehicles that are coming back from hospital and that as to what route they're likely to take through town, because sometimes they might be the closest vehicle than a vehicle sitting here on station.
This is a person collapsed at the ferry terminal. I don't know any more other than the fact that there's a nurse there.
Mr. and Mrs. Jenner were going on a South Island holiday, but Mr. Jenner has collapsed, delaying the sailing of the inter-island ferry.
And you felt dizzy?
Yes, I started to feel hot and dizzy.
All right. You feel that this is just a dizzy spell that has passed off? Or should we take you to the hospital? What do you feel?
Mr. Jenner isn't sure what he wants. The ship's captain has no doubts.
I'm not prepared to carry this.
No.
No problem, no problem.
I'm a general surgeon. I've had a look at this guy, and I did find that he was, certainly clinically, he was hypotensive.
Mm-hmm. Peter's getting advice from all quarters. There's even a doctor travelling on the ship.
He's sitting up all right now, but I think it's eminently appropriate that he is checked out at least with an ECG and so on.
Yeah, I feel a real fall.
Well, yeah, I can also see the problem if it didn't fix itself and you get halfway in the Cook Strait.
It's better to do what they suggested and come.
This man was on the ferry and he became faint. He suffers from low blood pressure. This general surgeon insisted that we bring him in. I really don't think it's probably worth it, but he's perfectly asymptomatic now. He's feeling fine. He has the licence to practice medicine. We don't. We work under a doctor's orders, if you like. So unless he was going to do something absolutely stupid, then yes, we would have to bow to him. We should have been able to come to a happy agreement.
Yeah. Mr. and Mrs. Jenner boarded the ferry 2 days later and continued on their holiday.
Okay, shall we give it a go?
Lee Nixon has been in the job just 7 weeks. She's a disability support officer and spends most of her time on Code 4 tasks, transporting patients from their homes to hospital.
Up here there's a rail, this one. You sound wheezy. You sound wheezy. If people aren't comfortable with you, you're really not going to achieve very much. for the journey. It's really a matter of manner and how you approach people and relate to them. And in some situations that can be trickier to work out than in others. I don't know, it's just really common to turn up and have someone say, oh, they've sent me a girl, or something along those lines. That's a common reaction. Sadly, it seems to be more women that say that than men, but never mind.
And thirdly, angled bristles to remove even more plaque from the gum line.
Colgate Total. For a superior clean, get a 3D clean.
The controller's lot is not a happy one. They have to deal with callers in a panic who can be hard to understand.
Ambulance emergency.
Hello?
Hello.
It's my son. He's 72 years old. His hand was stuck at the door and it's swollen. What do I do?
His hand stuck, is it?
Hey?
Can you put your son...
His finger is stuck at the door.
Is it still stuck in the door now?
No, I just took it out and it's all swollen.
Okay. What do you do?
Yeah,
What's your address, please?
Because it's all red.
What's your address, please?
Yeah, it's terrible.
What's your address?
The more stressed out they become, the harder they are to understand. So sometimes you have to actually shout at them so that they can actually hear you, because they're stressed out, they can't hear what you're saying.
You're going to have to put that baby down. Take the baby away. I can't talk to you when I've got the baby here.
Yeah, I don't know what to...
OK, put it in cold water.
Oh, cold water. Okay.
Yeah, OK. Right, bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
There are times when an ambulance has its limitations. Wellington Free Ambulance uses a helicopter for remote location work.
Okay, just move around and face me.
Dean Volkerling has 10 years as an ambulance officer. Today he's taking paramedic Michael Hayden for his first training flight.
We'll just winch away, probably even just before we get out there. So winch away.
Michael's to be winched onto the deck of a boat.
And then we'll take the hook away.
Okay. Before the training session can go much further, Blair Donovan is calling for the helicopter. He needs help with a crashed motorcyclist.
He braked rather hard and he's got into some gravel. He saw an opportunity to save himself and he's tried to run up a driveway and hasn't quite made it. And I was a bit worried about the injury, that it was maybe some nerve damage. I didn't want to take an hour to drive through to the hospital with it being bounced around in the back when it was only at the most 10-minute flight from here to the rooftop of the hospital.
Blair hands over responsibility for the patient to paramedic Alan Wilson. Alan's not the first ambulance officer in his family. In fact, his great-uncle Sydney was the only officer to die in the line of duty, trying to save 2 children trapped in an underground tunnel.
I guess the universal question that we most often get asked is, oh, you must see a lot of blood and gore and those sorts of things, which is a common, I think, misconception of our work, because in actual fact the blood and gore and the horrible scenes are very few and far between. One of the other things I tend to get asked a lot is, how do you deal with the death and dying and things like that? That's a part of the job. It's not a very pleasant part of the job, but it's also a challenge. There's something actually even quite satisfying about talking to somebody who's grieving or going to a situation where somebody's died and dealing with the family and helping them. That's quite a challenge and something I quite enjoy.
John Campbell had a fractured elbow. He was in hospital for 3 days. Alan and Alana Wilson have 3 children, 4 years, 3 years and 7 months old. Alana works part-time as a doctor and full-time as a mum. Brown shift worked 2 day shifts, then 2 night shifts, followed by 4 days off.
4 days out of 8, he's not home during the 5 to 7 period when it's disastrous with kids. And when he's working during the day, it's a very long day. He bikes because we only have 1 vehicle. So he's gone before 7 in the morning. He's not home till well after 7, if not 8 at night.
The kids see a lot more of me than what they would if I was working 8 to 5, Monday to Friday. So there's that side that I really like. But yes, the tiredness at the end of a night shift and those sorts of things is hard, and it definitely is hard on Alana And yeah, she's a good sounding board. When I've been on a difficult job, that I maybe didn't understand quite what was wrong with the patient or something like that.
In most cases, he leaves the rubbish at work, and it doesn't really interfere much with family life. He'll talk about it a little bit.
It's a long way up, and these guys are good, so I feel safe, I feel confident. We've been all through the training, and it all comes to fruition, so everything should come hopefully into quick recall. Birmingham. I think I'd have to clear my mind and make sure I'm just focusing on what I'm doing and getting down to the patient as quick and doing what I can as quick as I can.
Steady forward, left one, steady left, forward one, steady forward. Approaching the deck. Weight is coming on now.
On January 29th this year, Dean was the first rescuer to be winched onto the grisly accident scene at Mount Robertson. A Sounds Air Cessna aircraft had crashed, killing all 5 passengers.
Initially, what we could see was that it was a crashed aircraft. It really didn't look like anyone could survive in amongst the trees. We had to winch me down into down to the air crash to sort of basically see if there was any survivors there. It was quite evident that there were deceased people from the wreckage. There's a lot of internal destruction of the aircraft. The people were still in their seats, basically, or the seats had really sort of been ripped free from the rails. There was a person laying face down just underneath the aircraft, and there was another group of 3 people about halfway down the fuselage, and it looked initially like they were all deceased as well. When I walked up to them to check them out, that's when the pilot lifted his head up, and that was quite a shock for me. I didn't really sort of expect to see anyone there that had survived. He had bilateral fractured ankles, fractured wrist, multiple lacerations on both legs and his arms. So yeah, he was quite sick. We kept saying to him, are you in pain? And he wasn't in any pain whatsoever. It was really, really quite amazing. I guess it was just the whole shock of the whole thing. It's going to be a snatch lift of 2 people, weight coming on. Now you have the weight. Back 1, no, back 2, back 2, back 2. City back. Coming fast as a good piece of cake. They're doing a great job here.
Trainee Michael Hayden is safely back on board, and back at headquarters, it's yet another call-out.
Complete?
Yep,
got the bag.
got the bag, got the flowers.
Clean handkerchief, combed your hair, been to the toilet.
The work doesn't always involve emergencies. The routine part of Blair's job means he sees a lot of elderly customers, many living alone.
And for me to go around and pick somebody up to take them to an appointment at a hospital, and that'll be the first time they've been out of this house they live in for 6 months or longer, and they're just sitting there going up the walls, is very hard for me. And in fact, that's what's nice about being an ambulance officer in Wellington. I don't think I'd do it in any other place, any other city, anywhere else, is that it's balanced. We get a little bit of emergency work, which is demanding or it requires some skills, but it's balanced by being able to help and just assist.
You wouldn't be into mountain biking?
No, I wouldn't.
No?
No.
A sense of humour is one of Lester's greatest assets. It helps the patients relax, and he can see the funny side of most situations.
The caller was very vague, wouldn't give a lot of detail. It was a female caller. I was met by this woman and said, well, can you come in here and have a look at my friend? And he's had a bit of an accident. So I thought, yeah, okay, fine. Is he bleeding? No, not really. Oh, okay, that's fine. Is he breathing all right? Yeah. So I went into the house. I was shown into the bedroom, and basically on hands and knees with his head stuck through the railings of a bedstead headboard thing was this gentleman with his unmentionable sticking out towards the door. So
he didn't have clothes on?
No, he didn't really. No. She was quite embarrassed. He was quite embarrassed, and I was sort of more intrigued as to what had been going on. It had been a sort of sort of a physical exchange between the two in a very loving moment. And he decided to do one thing, she decided to do another. They completely missed, and he went through the railing. It just took a bit of sort of brute force and so forth. We prized the bars apart and took him out, and he just had 2 cauliflower ears.
Lester has finished his shift. Ambulance officers work from 8 to 6 during the days, then from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. on the night shifts. Lester and Vicky have 2 teenage boys and a baby. Vicky's a nurse who also works nights. Juggling work and home life is a challenge.
We've never really had a home alone situation, no. As I say, you've got to be organised. We have the kids organised the night before with all their school gear for the next day.
Well, hopefully the older two do it themselves.
Well, yeah.
But we keep persevering.
You always check. But with the bubs, for example, a lot happens in the morning when we get home. The kids are going to school, we're arriving, we've got things to do.
Busy. You can pick up when there's something not quite right, whether he be tired or he's done something, or he's come across something out there. And then when we get a chance, we talk.
And, of course, you've got to be very careful as well that Vicky doesn't just get all this baggage dumped on her. So the time you want to sort of have a release yourself, you've got to be very careful you don't stress out your partner and just dump everything on them.
424 crew, can you go to outside Licks nightclub, Vivian Street, for a pedestrian V car?
Is it only your leg that's sore? Yes?
Down the end.
Down the end by your foot? Is the rest of it all right? Looks like you've got something broken in your foot. So what we're going to do is put a special splint on it, get you up to the hospital and get something for the pain, all right? How's that sound to you? Yep. I'll take that year as a yep.
He came up onto your bonnet then?
What sort of things have you been drinking? That's the man.
Oh, no.
Come on, you can walk on that. That's it. We'll hold on to you and you just hop. Well done. Looks good. It looks like when the car ran over your foot, it's broken quite a few little bones in there.
Well, I wouldn't be really surprised.
No, you wouldn't be surprised. Well, that's unfortunately what's happened. You've also lost a bit of skin off there as well, all right?
So it's going to screw my life up a bit.
Certainly slow you down. The story he was telling us on the way to the hospital wasn't really fitting in all that well. That may well be his address. He was just pretty loose with the information when he did give it to us. And it's just a suspicion that possibly it's not his right address. Things don't seem to fit well with his story.
You're in Wellington Hospital, okay?
They think that once they give information here that it's spread through the hospital system to other people and other organisations, which is not true.
Pihana Rumahana was x-rayed and discharged. There were no broken bones.
So really here.
Skids are normally brought about by 2 factors. That is excessive steering lock and speed.
As part of their training, ambulance officers learn about vehicle control. Today it's Lee Nixon's turn.
It's very easy for me to lose control totally. Or I may control it for a while and all of a sudden it starts to go one way. Next thing I control it, and before I know where I am, it's back the other way again. So, would you like to hop in this seat and have a go?
Absolutely.
Now I'm going right around.
Yeah,
Just
okay,
like
that was really bad, wasn't it?
No, that was really good. Because now you experienced it. You know what's going to happen to the car.
Yeah.
Into the opposite direction.
Right.
So it's pointing towards the outside of the corner. So here, see the way you turn at the moment, turning in towards the corner, you've actually got to turn the wheel so it's pointing out towards outside the corner. Well, we've done again.
Lee put the brakes on a nursing career to do this job, a decision she doesn't regret.
I had a good nursing role, but in the 2 years that I'd been doing the job that I was doing, I noticed that we were doing less for people. I kind of feel that our health system isn't healthy and that, in fact, it's failing. And I didn't really want to be in that system, not delivering the quality of care that I thought should be delivered
anymore. Most of the public out there, I turn up to a job and will say to me, have you done some nurses training? Are you a nurse? Or I get called a nurse. They don't actually understand that I am an ambulance officer. Most of the guys on station are pretty good. They accept us as one of the boys. In fact, the last stag do here, the girls actually all turned up to the guys' stag do because we're one of the boys on the road.
This time, as we're approaching, I'll say stop, and I just want you to lock that brake up. Just punch that brake pedal as hard as you can.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
Stop! We came to a stop, didn't we?
We did.
That wasn't very efficient, was it?
No.
Did you feel as though you had control?
No, not really.
Not at all, no. All right, all you're going to do is turn around and go back and do it again. And this time I want you to brake as firmly as you can using a threshold braking technique.
Yep.
And come to a stop.
Okay.
As quick as you can. Not too bad at all. We got a minor lock-up, but that was really good. Very good. Well done.
I actually really enjoy the people that we meet, so I quite like the work. Having said that, there's nothing quite like being able to get those lights and sirens working. I'm really quite fond of them.
We received a call to go to one of the suburbs for a collapse. A collapse could mean anything, really. The front door was open. We knock, we call, no response. We knock and call again, and we can hear a television going in the background. So obviously someone lives there. Things weren't looking too good, so we prized the door of the bedroom open, and we originally thought the noise was static from a television. It wasn't, it was blowflies, and they were buzzing around the bedroom. In the middle of the bedroom was a shaft of light coming down through the ceiling, and that in actual fact was an exit for a 303 bullet that had basically been fired from a firearm in the roof of the mouth, through the top of the room, the head and through the ceiling. And it was pretty obvious from what was going on in the room, the condition of the patient, that he'd been there for substantial time.
We've been called to a man who has fallen off the roof. At this point, we don't know what his injuries are or whether he's even conscious or not. There should be an ambulance there already, so.
Can you repeat the last part of your message, please? Facial lacerations and a fractured foot.
Whereabouts is that hurting?
My fingers.
Your toes?
Next to the toe.
Here?
Yeah, those will be now.
We didn't even know she was on the ladder.
Because you've fallen quite a distance, we just want to make sure that there's no injury to your spine, all right? And they'll x-ray that, and when they've done the x-ray and that's clear, they'll take that off. 46-year-old lady was up a ladder, quite a tall ladder, trying to clean the windows, usual domestic sort of chores. She hadn't quite placed the ladder properly, and so it slipped, the base of it slipped out, and she fell to the ground. You understand where you are? A&E department. Hi, this is Patima. She was up a ladder, we reckon about 3 metres, cleaning the windows, and the ladder it was on slippery tiles, and the ladder just went down. So she went down with the ladder.
So it's a fold ladder or a straight ladder?
It was a straight ladder, but the floor was slippery, and it actually the bottom just slid out from underneath it, and she went down with the ladder, so she's fallen face forward.
Is she complaining of any neck pain at all?
Not at all. She's complaining of a little bit of pain across here. Right, around here, which would have been about where the rung was on the ladder.
Okay, yeah.
Right. Her ankle toes were a little bent, and she said that they were numb.
Yeah, it's definitely dislocated.
Just take some deep breaths.
Yeah, it's all in. There we go. Sorry.
In terms of injuries, she had a dislocated toe. She's got a potential chest injury because of the way she fell. She's got a sore chest, and a potential neck injury because of the height that she's fallen from.
Patima Lala had her chest x-rayed and went home the same day.
There's only one case that really sticks in my mind, and that was a little horrendous 2-year-old girl that was deceased. I assumed that she had died of natural causes. She had one arm that was a little bit stiff. I went through the process that I would have done with a sudden death, comforted the parents, called the doctor, and left. The disturbing thing about that for me was that this girl in fact had been murdered, killed by her mother. When the police did the autopsy and found some horrendous injuries in the child. Her main blood vessel had been ripped away from her heart, horrendous injuries. I had been there 6 weeks earlier at the same house and delivered their second child. So there was a lot of emotions in the arm, and you sort of feel pretty stink about the parents and why they did it, and I also felt stink about myself because I didn't actually realise what had happened.
To me, to deal with those stresses and strains, I have black humour. I can find something funny in anything. It might be the most sickest thing we'll go to, but I'll find something funny in it. It might not be the incident, it might be going there, or it might be